Lamar Jackson wins MVP,
I've,
obviously. Heard of him. Pretty good. Second MVP that he won in 2023. This year, Seth looks even better. I mean, through 6 weeks of the season. Now, Lamar was able to really catch fire last year toward the second half of the season. But through the first 6 weeks of 2023 and the first 6 weeks of 2024, he's thrown for more passing yards. He's got more passing touchdowns. Doesn't have as many big-time throws, but he's got 7 big-time throws compared to 10 big-time throws that he had last year. But the turnover-worthy plays, he only has 2 turnover-worthy plays this year, and he had 8 at this point in time last year. And Seth, the 2 turnover-worthy plays that he had were in week 1 against the Chiefs. Hasn't had one since. Not to say every pass has been perfect, but like true turnover-worthy plays. This guy's playing incredible football. It truly feels like Lamar, he has overcome the draft status of everybody, sort of doubting him in the draft. And then he wins the early MVP and what the Ravens were as a rushing attack with him as a rushing quarterback and the element that he played there. Then, he's got the MVP season last year and he justifies the big, massive contract. He wins MVP as a passer more so than a runner, even though he's a fantastic dual threat. And now, Seth, this year, it just feels like, certainly with Derrick Henry there as well and how well they're running the ball, it feels like he is playing with house money the rest of his career. He already knows, I have overcome all of these things. I have proven all of these doubters wrong. Now it's just about how good my game can possibly get. And it feels like this is the most efficient Lamar that we have seen yet, which is scary with him coming off of an MVP trophy. So talk to me about Lamar Jackson, what you have seen so far from him this year, and if he deserves to be an MVP frontrunner once again here in 2024.
Are you asking me if Lamar Jackson deserves to be an MVP frontrunner? The answer is obviously yes. He's really good. I don't even think I think there are still stuff, whether it's in like roster construction or even his own game, that I think having a chance to get better. But right now, the stuff that he's doing, so I'll talk about this offense as a whole, because I think it's important to know that this is an offense that does not go backwards. That is so important. They have one of the lowest rate of negative runs in the league. I think they're bottom 5. Mm-hmm. They have the highest or the least, the lowest sack rate in the league. So those are negative plays. So they're never in 3rd and longs. They're never in 2nd and longs. Not to mention that they also have explosiveness in their offense as well. But they're never in very bad situations, and a lot of that is obviously Lamar Jackson, in the run game, his ability to create gravity that leads to positive runs for Derrick Henry. There's also, the Derrick Henry, who's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
He creates positive runs as well. And then there's his ability to not take sacks, and his completion percentage isn't amazing, but it's very good, but it's not at the top of the league.
Right.
So there's just not a lot of 0 or negative plays in this offense. They have taken some penalties, which they'll love to clean up. But besides that, there's just they're always in positive situations on offense, and that just leads to. And again, it's not just, and that's not to say, oh well, look at Lamar in these positive. He's only getting positive situations. He's the one that's keeping them in positive situations. And where he's been amazing is throwing guys accurately on the move and giving them yak opportunities over the middle of the field. Loves these crossing routes, loves all that stuff. We got the last 2 weeks where Zay Flowers looks like a number 1 receiver again. Mm-hmm. I don't know how often that continues. I think that's kind of probably going to be Zay Flowers' career. Where every once in a while, you're like, wow, this guy is the best player in the league. And then sometimes you just have off weeks, I guess, from him. But yeah, Lamar is just throwing guys open. That's the main thing. And that started a bit last year, where you could see his accuracy on these throws that are crossing the field, let's say, or drags and crossing routes and stuff like that, in routes are just tremendous. I mean, it's top of the league stuff. Now, when I say that there's stuff that I think they can improve, roster construction, I still think, and I really like Bateman and Flowers and Likely and Andrews. We've been saying it for a long time. I think it's still true. I think Lamar needs a big body X type of receiver. Like he needs what we've all hoped Nelson Aguilar would eventually turn into, which really hasn't happened. But like that's a type of receiver that he kind of needs for this offense to go even to the next level. Maybe they don't need it. Maybe this is still like one of the best offenses we've ever seen. I think like probably in the playoffs, and we saw them get out physicaled last year by the Chiefs in the playoffs, and even week one this year. They're gonna play the Chiefs in the playoffs again. So like you're gonna need that big body receiver who can go and catch Lamar's vertical throws down the sideline, which is something they've never had. I don't think Lamar is a great thrower of those type of balls. He's okay, but he's not top of the league. And I think a lot of that is the receiver play. Like when you talk about vertical throws, the more vertical a throw is, the more that's on the receiver. So yes, we grade the quarterback. Yes, we grade the receiver, but at the same time, like we're not great at divvying up the responsibility when it comes to ball tracking. So like he doesn't do well. Lamar doesn't do well on those type of throws, but I do think a lot of that is the receivers that he's throwing the ball to. So give him a big body receiver. We'll see if that changes. But other than that, so like I said, like there's so much to like, and yet I still think we're not even at the ceiling of what this offense could be, which is scary, very scary.
Yeah, I think that certainly the heavy personnel stuff, they're certainly masters of. You talked about last segment, Shane Waldron, right? Like, what's the offensive identity here? There's not really a wonder of what the offensive identity is for the Baltimore Ravens. One, they're going to be a heavy running team. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run it with Lamar. They're going to run it with Derrick Henry. They're going to establish things up front. But they're also going to run heavy personnel stuff. Obviously, they have Zay Flowers, who want to get the ball in his hands at all times. He's going to be their heavy target guy. They're going to let him be a yards after a catch type of a player. But they line an identity is heavy personnel stuff. It's multiple tight ends. It's Mark Andrews. It's Isaiah Likely. They're throwing Charlie Kolar into the mix now. You've got 3 tight ends that you can go to at any point in time. And so even when Mark Andrews wasn't playing well, it's like Charlie Kolar's in there. They know their identity really, really well. And going back to sort of what I was saying at the beginning, the confidence of Lamar, it's almost like he's playing his career with house money at this point because he's already proven everybody wrong. And now it's just like, all right, well, how well can I operate sort of what we're doing now at this point? So I think that having confidence in the environment that he is in with a heavier personnel team has been fantastic, especially because I think it's a great point that you make. The horizontal throws, the crossers, whether it's whether it's mesh concept stuff or whether it's intermediate or deep crossers, dig routes over the middle, whatever, like it's a backside route, like whatever it is, he's fantastic at throwing those touch passes in particular over the middle. So a lot of times, like when you have crossers, it's like, okay, well, the crosser's sort of starting out at the line of scrimmage, and then like I'm getting up to the second level. Now I'm sort of like getting behind the second level, and then the route gets a little bit flexible of like, okay, I need to veer it a little bit deeper, a little bit more shallow to create the throwing window. And for quarterbacks, it's tough to layer those throws in between where a safety is and where the linebackers are. And to me, it's specifically more difficult when you're talking about a horizontal throw one way or another, because not only are you having to gauge the touch on the pass to put it where it needs to go, you're also needing to gauge the speed of the receiver to hit them in stride or get them to where they are creating that throwing window one way or the other. And Lamar is really good at that. He's really good at that. It's why touch, you talk about evaluation for quarterbacks and going back to like the NFL draft and things like that. Touch is such a major part of how I grade these guys, because often you can work on repetition, right? You can work on, all right, if I'm throwing this guy a fastball, it's a 2-step drop, and then, like 2.6 seconds into the route, boom, it's coming out of my hands. The guy's going to be there because we've worked on it so many times. We've practiced this so many times. It's muscle memory. Touch, I mean, it's sort of muscle memory, but often it is something in the moment where you just have to look at it and be like, yep, this guy's going it this way, at this angle, at this speed. There's the ball. It's going straight to where it needs to go, and it's going in the breadbasket. It's so tough to replicate those things, even with a ton of repetition in training camp and in practice and all of that. So it often just comes down to it's a great showcase of these are the best natural passers. And Lamar is really good at those types of passes. So to me, it's this combination. Him having this MVP caliber season is sort of a combination of a lot of things, but it's just this uber confidence in what they are as an offense, and then of course like what he is at his strengths as a touch passer that I think is yielding some of the highest efficiency numbers that we have seen. Like I mentioned, the big time throws are a little bit further down, but the turnover worthy plays are also way down compared to last year. And like I mentioned, over the last 5 weeks, he doesn't have one. So Lamar's been nuts. Like you kind of laughed about there as we kind of opened up the segment. Of course he's an MVP candidate. Like, of course he is an MVP front runner. Like, he is playing one of the best. And when I was just looking at some of the numbers, I mean, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, certainly with how hot he's playing. I don't know if he'll win MVP just because I don't know if the team's going to be good enough. But, I mean, he is playing fantastic. Brock Purdy's playing really well as well. Oh, who was the other quarterback that was right there? Oh, there was somebody else that was right there when it came to, like, overall grade. When I was just looking at, like, MVP conversation stuff. Obviously, like, Mahomes is in that conversation as well. But it's kind of like that, those bunches of guys at the quarterback position that are really standing out here early on in the season that Lamar is, I think Lamar is at the top of the list of all of those quarterbacks. So I think he's the front runner right now.
I would probably put him. The guy you're talking about is our highest graded passer, Derek Carr, the MVP of the league, Derek Carr. Okay, buddy.
Hey, don't swing your shoulders like that.
I don't think Derek Carr is going to win the MVP.
I don't think so either.
Let me put that out into the ether. That I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I think he's up there. I think like it's going to be tough because, like you said, the one guy, like the two guys that are interesting for MVP. I'll say three guys because you have Brock, Lamar, and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes because of all three of them because of the record, right? Like, you know, Burrow and this offense has been elite since T. Higgins came back, but they're just probably not going to get enough wins. I can see them making the playoffs, but I don't know if they'll have enough wins. So really, it's going to come down to Lamar, Brock, and Mahomes again. Who else?
Stroud and Daniels. Those are the other two. Those are the other two that were. I mean, Stroud's also playing incredibly well, so can absolutely see C.J. Stroud being in that conversation. Jaden's obviously played really well over the last 3 weeks. We'll see if that continues for them. But that is to me, certainly at the quarterback position, that's the MVP conversation right now. It's Brock Purdy, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Lamar Jackson, it's C.J. Stroud, and it's Jaden Daniels. Like, it's those five guys that I think are at the MVP conversation. And again, I'd put Lamar at number one. If I was power ranking them right now, I would put Lamar at number one.